board that I had to take a slider and one entire gimbal out to replace one switch. I just bought myself the soft case for 20 quid and called it.
Well, this is embarrassing. Is it my fault?
No, probably mine. I didn't actually send you a link for the show. I just said, like, you're in for that slot, and then never got round to emailing you the link. Thanks for making it, Ian.
Sorry, gentlemen. I've also managed to pick up the lurgy as well along. When you actually go out into the real world and you suddenly pick up every disease that's avoided. Sorry.
I thought it was just your accent.
Hello.
Yeah, no, I'm a little. Pardon me.
You got the tough guy voice on.
Yeah, it's hit me again. It doesn't seem to be human malware.
Good.
However, I'm not dead yet, so it's a pleasure, gents. Please accept my apologies.
Massive pleasure. Oh, we can get an interesting viewpoint. This isn't the one you normally film from. We've got the interesting view with all the bits and pieces dotted around here as well, haven't we?
This is the viewpoint of I need to run up and turn everything on because I've been away most of this week. I haven't actually been in here. I've literally, this is probably the first time I've been in here. So yeah, you've got not the junk corner, but the corner where
the flame wheels, I think.
The work in progress corner.
It is that, to be honest, it is. The wing is up there, which I've got to get off my. I can swear here, can I?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Well, you've got an editor.
This is why I love your stream. Yeah, I need to get off my arse and fix that because I haven't finished it.
Oh, that won't even get bleeped.
There is a flame wheel, the Rovers there. Yeah, that's sort of it's not my junk corner. There's even remember the TBS Discovery, the big one. It's hiding in the back with RC Timer 800 arms. Absolute monster. It's got DJI, the very old big propulsion set on it. So it's ridiculously overpowered. It's got the same propulsion spec that was on the Inspire 1. So I used to fly it
shift,
with 2.6. I never really got it to behave because no flight controller. It was just overpowered. Everything I did was overpowered with it. That's. I'd love to say that's where the magic happens, but it's not. it's where the magic always comes to
over to the other side. I'm a bit of a micro fan myself. I see a few micros lurking over your other shoulder.
There is. There's always. What have we got behind me here? I've started to get into, as everyone is. Wow. I've started to get into whoops because, well, I live in Wales, and as you guys know, the weather's never great. I'm right down the bottom end, so I'm in Pembrokeshire, right down the real bottom end.
Milk in bags kind of land.
It's so it's either wet, windy, or wet and windy. That is the three choices.
That's the three you got.
It's we get sun once a year. That's about it.
Oh my god!
It's there's something I don't know. Curry might remember these. And look, first of all, I want to say it's a massive privilege to be on something with Curry Kitchen. Like, massive fan of the work.
Curry Kitchen.
Curry Kitchen.
A Kitchen, sorry. Curry Kitchen. I prefer Curry Kitchen, right? He's a better channel, if I'm honest.
It does have a ring to it, doesn't it?
It does sound like it's something my taste buds are starting to like. Curry Kitchen, that sounds like a good thing. I'd watch that.
Cooking with curry.
For anyone who remembers the Headplay HD, this was the pinnacle of FPV, gentlemen.
The tumour.
When people talk about being face bleached by a toaster, that's what they're thinking about.
That's these kids fly FPV these days. They complain, am I going to buy Orcas or my OLED goggles? No. This is where it was at in the day.
Look at the length of that. Look at that.
That's not a comment I hear very often in relation to anything.
Look at the leverage that's going to put on your head. I mean, wow.
It feels like I should get my really old goggles down. Please hold.
I haven't seen a
screen, isn't it? Cantilevered off your head.
Yeah. It wow. Look, it's the only thing that's 7 inches around me. But then again, we'll leave that there. But
for you, Mum.
It was a good. Oh, look at them!
This was a really popular video back in the day. No, these were made by flyingwings.co.uk. And what it was, he basically cut the foam, and you bought a 5-inch display off eBay, and you put your in there, there's a little thing for your Fresnel
lens.
And I've got an old pair of ski goggles.
Oakley as well, man, legit.
And there's Velcro here, and you stick one of your big external receivers on, and you plug it in with your thing, and it weighs about 6 tons. But you could build it for 20 quid, all in, which is pretty good going back in the day.
That's when FPV was really cheap as well. You know, the problem with FPV now, it's funny now, it reminds me of fishing in some ways. And whilst this is a completely the mad aspect of my term, I'm on most forums I'm known as mad angler, and the reason for that was I was a massive carp fisherman. Did it since I was like 10 on my own, and traveled some parts of the world doing it. And fishing got like FPV in some ways. It all started off where we were using cheap, horrible gear, and everything was crap. And then over time, the gear got better and more expensive. And FPV's getting that way now. For anyone who's like sort of big into fishing, there was the bling period of fishing where everything became stainless steel, and you had rods with stainless steel reel seats. And I'm waiting for the FPV.
It's all carbon now, isn't it?
It's all carbon, and then I'm waiting for it with FPV quads where we start having the bling. You know, not only have I got a 5-inch, I got a 5-inch with bling on the bottom of it as well. You know.
Yeah, well, you got the rooster,
like
the
that.
Titanium and all that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty blingy, like titanium.
If you look at Nazgul's latest series, because the price of electronics shot up, they tried to balance this out by just running a bunch of light channels down the side of the quad and putting LEDs on it, the Evoke.
Yes.
Which is just like a cheap hatchback approach to building a quad, where the guts of it are no better than last year, but what they've done is to put some really fancy lights on it.
Yeah, everyone likes a bit of bling. You've even seen it, you know, on the Express RS modules. You know, we've got Beta FPV who are putting in LEDs so you can light up your crotch when you're flying.
RGB crotch lighting.
Yeah, you know, who doesn't want their crotch lit up when they're out in a field? So it is, you know, we all love a bit of LED. That's the problem, isn't it?
I am worried about what that says about Express LRS users, that the demographic that they've decided we are hobby radio enthusiasts who want crotch illumination. I feel like I'm in the middle of a tiny Venn diagram overlap, which is just confusing and insulting. But that's the world we live in.
Is it Beta FPV or is it Express RS? That's the problem. Because, you know, being honest, the Express RS's community towards Beta FPV isn't exactly shining, is probably the right term to use. You know, I think many people's opinion towards Beta FPV isn't exactly the best at times, but I think they're trying. You know, they take a lot of crap. They're doing something a bit different. That
they are not afraid to have a go. They do fail a fair bit, but they're not afraid to have a go. And God bless them for that.
Yeah, I try to be a bit more subjective. You know, I know there's some darlings of it, you know, you got Happy Model and others who are seen as sort of early adopters and they work with the devs and stuff like that. Whereas I think Beta FPV has been, they've had a lot of problems. I think the biggest complaint with them is they make a product, probably not test it and put it into the market and suddenly realize it doesn't work properly and then make a version that works and not recall it. But they do seem to be getting better at this. We've just had the problems with the small chip antenna or the PCB antenna, and they've openly said, look, we've got this wrong, we're going to replace the ones or give you your money back. So that's great to see. They're growing up a bit, which is good.
They did seem confused. They asked me the other day after I did the test on their flat antenna. They were confused about why anybody would fly above 150 hertz. It's like, why are people doing this? I said, well, they're racers and they think they'll get a big response from that. And they were completely blown out the water on the idea that people would like to do that. And I think hopefully it's sort of made them think slightly about, really, that people aren't doing what we think they're doing. Perhaps we should change our minds about stuff.
It is interesting, isn't it, when you get the companies talk like that. You know, I'll be honest, I'll be upfront. Beta FPV have been very good to me on the channel. They've sent me stuff to have a look at. I've never had a problem with them. They've taken feedback. I know the community gets a bit anti with them at times. I does wonder at times how many companies are entering FPV just to make money. And I think that's where you've just said you know, they're just looking at it going, 150 hertz, that's fine. They don't want any more than that. And they almost miss what the community wants. And look, I'll be open to the argument of, is 150 hertz really any better? That's that placebo effect. You could that goes down the latency route of even HD0 versus DJI and a whole other painful hole we'll never get out of. But, you know, there is an argument to be said of, are we choosing these speeds because it's faster, or do they actually bring benefit? And is there really good data to show the benefit? Because what you generally end up with, like was the other day, was JB doing that video. And I thought that was a really good video for anyone who saw it, choosing the different modes. And in the end...
For those who didn't catch the video, I think Ian's referring to a video where Stinger Swarm and JB took turns, and they each set their controller's packet rate to either 500 hertz or 50 hertz, and they had to guess which was which, right?
Yeah. And it was just interesting. I love stuff like that, because you just sit and go, you know, is it placebo? Can they pick it up? Are they noticing a difference? Is that difference actually making a difference? And, you know, we just had the full HD0 race, and what's interesting is I'm not actually convinced digital makes racing better for the pilots. I think it actually makes it a lot better for the spectators, but I'm not convinced there's an out-and-out element of benefit to the pilot. Because these
it would have been interesting to see. I think the HD0 race that we had recently over here in the UK, which I think you covered as well.
Yeah.
There was a fair bit of breakup on HD0, but I didn't catch the comparison to analog, and I'm guessing that with analog, that multipathing would have really murdered the image and made it a lot worse than HD0.
Yeah, like I was there for most of the day, but I had to leave before the boys put analog aircraft in the air. They didn't fly analog, so there was no analog on the event. However, what they did do is just after I'd left, they'd finished the racing, and they put a couple of analog craft in the air. And there's been two different responses. One guy tried a little bit and it was okay. One guy tried it was completely unflyable. The race would not have gone ahead. So I think it was quite a success. The problem was the live feed setup wasn't perfect. It wasn't optimized. It was done in such a way to cover off rain, because the ideal scenario is the boys would have been sitting in the middle of the field, down in the middle of the stadium, away from the Wi-Fi. It gave torrential rain at 11 a.m. So that wasn't an option. You know, we were always compromised on what we were going to do. They set up. In hindsight, I found a better location around the corner, and I think I covered that in the video where I'd gone around the corner, and it was a lot better. And actually, the pilots moved to themselves. If we'd have had the time, the inclination, if we wanted to make it look the best we could have done, you could have spent a day walking around the place with a spectrum analyzer going, okay, we need to be here, and this is going to be best. But yeah, there was some good...
You live and learn, right? And it was a good first outing. Like, they managed to get the coverage from beginning to end. They didn't go offline. The equipment didn't break, which, you know, no one mentions. Like, oh, the quality wasn't perfect, but it didn't break. And a lot of the times you might expect a new set of equipment like HD0 to just go offline and not show a signal. And it was working all through the day, which is testament to, you know, the fact that they've gotten a long way in just a couple of years on that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You know, I think I've ended up in this bit of a weird position where I seem to be a bit of the controversial one at times in the last 12 or 14 months, and sometimes anything I say gets myself into trouble. So I'm not going to change, but I do. You're sorry?
Welcome to Let's Drone Out.
But no, I mean, look, HD0 is a very good system. Is it the answer? I don't know. It's a proprietary system. You've got this bit of a war at the moment of people going, DJI is evil, HD0 is fantastic. Well, no, they're both proprietary systems. They're both private companies. HD0 can be as evil as DJI tomorrow. Is DJI even evil? Where does people's perception of DJI being evil come from? You know, then it's not open source. And look, we've got the man up here in the opposite corner to me who is paving the way forward with what may be the solution, which is OpenHD. It's not there yet, but it's getting closer. And you know, I've been watching the videos very closely, and it's interesting to see the hardware come on. This year, I think, is the real year where well, hopefully this year, if the chip shortage fixes itself, we might see some hardware that really gets us closer.
Are you tempted to try OpenHD yourself? You've probably got the engineering chops to give it a good shot.
Yeah, for me, it's been time. I'll be honest. My biggest problem is, as the channel has grown and it's finding time to do the real background work before I go to it. And this is something I'm even going to change with reviews. I've got myself in a position where I have a real world outside of the channel. You know, I have a full-time job, I have a family, I have kids. I've been lucky in COVID and lockdown that it's meant I've been home most evenings. That's starting to change. Hence, I've been away this week. So my time is becoming infinitely less, and I have to now try and figure out where's the right balance. Because there's no, anyone can pick up a product, use it for 10 minutes and say, this is the best thing in the world. That doesn't help anyone. What you need to be able to do is put content together based on is what your people ask for experience. A review should be about experience, how you feel about a product. Now, everyone's entitled to agree or disagree with that, but it should be, at the end of the day, a review is an opinion.
So you're struggling with that reviewer's curse, which is when you become a successful reviewer, people send you more products, and when you then review them, then they send you more products, and it takes off like a hockey stick, and before you know it, you don't have any time to review the products, and you've got a backlog, and it's a struggle.
Take the word successful out, and that's probably where I am, right? So, you know, look, it's still a small channel, but yeah, I've been very lucky. I've had some great companies send me some stuff. I got a bit backlogged, which dragged me behind. And then I'll be honest, I got to the stage of I was very close to giving up reviewing completely in January. I made a decision to just stop doing it because I can't do everything. So what do? Do I review a 30 quid module that Beta FPV is saying? I'm going to spend probably 30 hours, up to 30 hours, making sure I know what it's doing. I've tested it, I've flown it. Maybe 30 is a bit extreme, but at least 5-10 hours on it to make sure it's doing what it wants. And then go and talk about it for 20 minutes. Is that viable? And in the end, and I'd be interested to know what Curry's thoughts are, because he'll know what the YouTube ad revenues are like. He'll know what it's, you know, if a review might get 3,000 views. That's great for the company. It's great for the people who want to watch it. But is that the best use of what I can do? And that's something I'm trying to balance. You know, I am a technical person, and perhaps my ability is better elsewhere. And I didn't cover the Zorro for that very reason. I just left the Zorro slide past because I just felt you're going to have 10 channels doing the same thing, all saying the same thing.
And they all do it on exactly the same day. So a lot of that message, even if you do really detailed coverage, it gets lost in the noise a little bit.
Yeah. And
it's very good for Radio Master, but not so good for individual channels. Apart from people get to obviously flick around, and in the space of a few hours, they've learned this thing of all opinions, and they can make a good decision. But yeah, it's just like, also here's another 5 people that reviewed it all in the same day.
Yeah, and I feel, because you know, I try to watch almost all of the YouTube channels I've spoke about or talk about. I watch Curry, I watch JB, I watch Blunty, all of these guys I try to watch. But I sat there that day and went, I'm gonna have to pick 3 guys, because I'm not going to get through 10 videos. It's not going to happen. I don't know about you guys. I've suddenly really started to use the times 1.5 thing, especially on my own content. Anyone watches my content, chuck it on 1.5. I'm way too boring to sit there at normal speed.
I'm wondering, like, for a lot of this stuff, it's got to the point where I'm watching maybe 40 minutes worth of content, and I'm doing it on YouTube, but I'm doing it on YouTube because that's the way that people can make money out of it. And to be honest, I'd rather I could read. I'd rather see an article with nice diagrams where I didn't have to like pause the video and, you know, try and zoom in on a little video window. I'd rather just, if there was a way I could offer my advertising eyeballs or my Patreon support or something for written articles, I'd almost like to go back to long form editorials about this stuff rather than everything being video. I think it's on video because YouTube is a successful platform that can monetize it. It's not on video because maybe video is the best way to review a radio.
It's interesting because we've only really got one person in the space who's carrying on with the editorial stuff, which is Oscar, isn't it? He's the only one who's really pushing ahead with the editorial side of it.
Into UFPV, by the way.
Oh, yeah. And a few others. It's there's a few websites. You got the news side. You got Gary at SOS News who covers the news, and we got all the DJI stuff, which is all tripping over each other for click links. I spent a long time on RC groups. I got probably 25,000 plus posts on RC groups, and I used to do a lot on the blog section, and I used to enjoy that. Anyone who read it will know I can't spell for shit, but I used to put quite a bit of stuff on there, and I do miss it, but it again is time consuming. I fell down the YouTube rabbit hole, unfortunately, and I don't really know how to get out. That's probably the right thing.
I have to say,
a lot of people are echoing these. Sorry,
I was just going to say it takes much more effort than you might think to write something, because you can get away with quite a lot in video, and that people will just pick up an understanding from you talking about it. When you have to write it down, and I used to write for, I think I wrote in the end for like 5 RC magazines before they all obviously went out of business because they're magazines, and that was always way more time consuming than doing videos, because I had to make sure that my points were all sort of well made, and that had the right level of somewhere between like not an idiot but not a scientist. And then, like you say, you'd literally have to do diagrams, because you couldn't put video content in and show these things. You'd have to make sure that you're showing the right photos, and then those photos have to be like publishable, so they have to be all like nicely done and stuff. And it's very time consuming. It's much easier in a lot of ways to do a review in video form, or some sort of point of view in video form, where you can just do like a talking head video and sort of wing it a little bit more, and people will accept that.
There is almost a kind of reductio ad absurdum, though, where if you go to something that's purely spec related, like flight controllers, people doing video reviews of a flight controller where they just hold up the board. In some ways, it would just be nice if there was a list for that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's tough. I'm really bad at the YouTube thing. What people don't realize is I'm really bad at it. For me to knock out 15 minutes of something can literally be me messing it up for 2 hours. Now, that's partly because I don't script anything, and that's entirely my own fault, but scripting it takes time. Scripting it, you've got to write the script. I'm not very good at reading an auto cue. I have tried doing it that way, and there are people who've said having a cue actually makes you better at it. I just can't do it. I can't get the pacing right. It's the bit.
Is Curry just a natural at video? Is it first take every time with you, Curry?
Have you not seen all the? If I count, if you want a good drinking game, watch my video, and every time I say you'll be pissed out of your head by the time we get to the end of it. I was just gonna say, Ian, if you got like a proper auto cue, because when I have scripted things, I've got one that I need to hopefully record tomorrow about one of these prototype boards for OpenHD.
Okay.
Spoiler alert: 30mm stack. This big, should be good when it comes out. But I haven't got like an auto cue. My camera's like up there when I'm filming, and this looks so shifty. Me doing this, reading my screen and pointing back up. I'd love to get a proper auto cue where I can just like look at me. I'm reading it perfectly, and no one can tell. But
I did buy one. I did buy one. I bought one which goes in front of the camera, and it's that what you call mirror glass. So it goes.
Yeah, you sort of got the mirror, and it sort of projects
like
on
a
there.
Pepper's
and
Ghost
the camera
type
can't
of
see
thing.
it.
And you just put your phone or tablet at the bottom of it. That's all you do. You have an app on your phone or tablet. And I sold it because I tried it, and my problem is I talk so much crap, or I'll go off on a tangent, and the bit I need is gone. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, oh God, I need. So, but I know most of what I'm talking about. I'm one of these people that if someone said to me, threw me in a room and said, right, talk about the cube, or go and talk about this, I could spiel off an hour. I'm just lucky I retain information. I'm like a water bucket. What I read goes in, and that's it. So for me, the audio cue was only really bringing, probably the right term is consistency. If I wrote it that way, it would bring it in that way, But I never got used to it. I just never got used to it. So I just wing it. And that's why my videos are A, normally quite long, B, quite bad. And I've always missed something I wanted to talk about until I finished.
I think you're very, very factual. You're one of the few people that actually puts things under the microscope, literally. That's unusual.
Yeah, I've tried to do a bit this year. and I love to know why Curry does it, because see, I'm in this weird position. I still don't know why I do this. I honestly, genuinely don't know. Right,
it's clearly for the millionaire lifestyle that we all lead.
It's the shell, okay, it's the paycheck from DJI every month. Obviously, that helps pay for the Lamborghini.
Gold slippers just out of shot.
Yeah, the what people don't always realize is the pressure that comes with it. You get a product turn up to the company emails you last week. They say, "Oh, we're going to send you something." The product turns up on a Monday. Monday afternoon, you've had the email. "Oh, we've seen you've had the product. We're looking forward to receiving your review." Wednesday, "Oh, do you know when your review's going live?" And you're just like, give me 5 minutes to play with this, will you? And that's why I put out that thing about a set of conditions how I'm going to do reviews now, because I just got fed up of companies harassing me. But it takes a lot of time. I do most weeks probably 40-50 hours in here on stuff.
I think you make a good point, and I watched your video about things are changing. Like, I think was it DJI sort of removed their affiliate scheme, and you were talking about like can we go on like this, because at the end of the day it takes a lot of time, and I say I do this full time, which is another way of saying I don't do proper work anymore. But full time for me means I'm spending sort of hours on it per day, but not full day, because I still got things to do in the house and children to look after, and all the housework and meals to prepare. That's me as a house husband. But it makes a really good point about why we do this, because right now YouTube ad revenue and me and Ian have similar size channels. Yours is right down there, slightly bigger than mine, but the money that comes in from the advertising is peanuts. It doesn't get to 3 figures every month, and we're talking it barely breaks $100 if I'm having a good month. Yeah. The affiliate stuff has seemed to have completely dried up. When I was many years ago, when I started doing this and I had like 3,000 subscribers, I was making like sometimes £500-600 a month out of affiliates, and now I'm making £30 a month because there's nothing there. So I much prefer if we sort of enter the situation in, well, we're not really making money out of it. Unfortunately, it's not like I'm independently wealthy. I just make my wife work. It's not like I have to make the money from it. So if I don't have to make the money from it, then if someone wants to send me a review piece and it's not interesting, or it's not something I want to look at, then the answer is no, because I'd much prefer to find something interesting. Like me and Steve were just talking about the VRX backpack, which is from a friend who runs an FPV store, and it costs £5 and there's no affiliate links, but it was a really interesting thing to play with. Or the PWM thing, or playing with OpenHD, because it's interesting. And I mean, that has a slight knock-on effect of increasing my tiny revenue by a tiny bit in YouTube numbers, but does nothing else. But it's kind of like, well, if we can't make a proper living out of this, then we might as well just have fun with it. But why I do it, I don't know. Maybe I'm just attention seeking in my old age or something. Got to do something.
That's the genuine thing, isn't it? It's why, and look, I've said on the channel many times, look, the income I get from the channel has nothing to do. I have a work life completely away from this, which I don't talk about on purpose, but it exists. I have a fairly well paid job.
You're a drug dealer.
I'm a drug dealer, right? I peddle chips. SM32s at the moment is the highest profit. Peddle them, out the side of the jacket. But I have a job. So every penny that comes into the channel pays for the channel. So what the income has allowed me to do is buy all new equipment. Last 2 years, I've spent about $5,000 on cameras. I've as you guys have seen, the channel has tidied up, and that is as a result of the income. I bought a sit-stand desk. I bought the A10 Mini, a couple of extra cameras. So it allowed me to make the channel suddenly look very tidy. And actually, a comment, one of the ones I really took to heart was JB said how nice it looked one day. Just a little thing, and it's like someone noticed who does this. Do you know what I mean? Who does it as well? And so that's what. But if it stops tomorrow, I can stop because I don't pay my mortgage with this. And I have a couple of times thought, why am I doing 50 hours a week in here alongside a full-time job, alongside wife and kids? I got in a bit of a mess towards the end of the year where I had so much backed up. I said, this is out of control. And I said, I promised my wife it would change, and it has, because I've just finished finishing reviewing the last product I have to review. So there is nothing in the pipeline. I now will dictate if something goes in that pipeline or not. And whether I will review something ever again, I don't know. It's going to have to be something I want to review. But what I want to get back to is playing with the stuff like Curry is, because what I found is everything else is taking away from what I do best. And that is the hardware and understanding the hardware, because that is my natural. I'm a hardware engineer. That's what I am by trade, you know.
So you're going to take a breather and refocus. Now you've got all these options laid out instead of just doing everything.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I might even quit. I haven't decided. That's the genuine thing. No, what I've got to try and understand is what I want from this in 5 years' time, because I don't do this to get 10,000 subs, 20,000 subs, 30,000 subs. I do it to try. The goal was always, can you help someone? So if I know something someone else doesn't, can I present that information to make their day better?
Yeah.
One of my most popular videos is on a receiver with the cable isn't wired properly. It's that simple. That it's a standard RC cable, a servo cable, but the cable they provide in it is not for the servo, it's for updating the firmware, and it's wired differently. And one of the most popular videos is, don't try to update with this cable, don't try to use this cable, it won't work. Do you know what I mean? And it's the amount of people who've gone, you know what, I spent 3 days messing around with this until I saw this video. And that's what I love. You know, you've got a problem, you type it into YouTube, and someone's had that pain, and they're there to help you. And
years ago, I wanted to do a podcast to try and just help people fix their gadgets and electronics, and just to kind of learn the basics, like how to use a multimeter, how to fix little network problems that most people don't know about. And it was really hard to get. I think people would have saved a bunch of money, but unless you have some like catchy tagline, it's really hard to get it out there.
Yeah, it's hard. And what I don't know is what I want from this. Because at the end of the day, and Curry made a real good point. Okay, we're all material girls in a material world. So none of us should be afraid to talk about money. I was for a very long time. But now I don't care. I will talk about money. So, you know, I can't make this channel work without money. It's really simple, because I can't go and buy a £2,000 drone because I don't own a Ferrari and I don't have a foreign bank style lifestyle, you know. So if someone wants me to review something, I either have to get it from the budget that comes into the channel, I may want it myself, or I'm going to sit there and say, actually, if you want me to do this, you're going to have to stump up. And that's not a bad. People get a bit, ooh, he wants money, you know. It's a bit like the GoFundMe territory, but there's a point where you have to start going, okay, am I providing a service, or am I just doing this for laughs or kicks? And it is a fine balance, you know. It's like the Mavic. I wasn't involved with the Mavic 3 because I can't afford to spend £2,000 on a drone that will net me about £72 in YouTube ad revenue over 12 months. You know, the logic isn't there. And as Curry said, the old affiliate scheme would have made that possible somehow, but it doesn't.
So you're quite the electronics whiz. If you were to go up there and ask for money, would you ever want to make a gadget or anything? Is there anything that you'd actually want to, like, say, okay, you give me money, well, I'm making this token really useful thing?
What, for FPV or just anything?
Well, for FPV predominantly, yeah.
It's hard because there's so much done in FPV. There's some, you know, what I'd love, you know, there's two things I'm missing in FPV right now is an open source HD system, which will be end user, and we're getting it. That's happening. It's going to happen. OpenHD is the leader in that. All that's holding it back is the hardware right now. That's it. It's the hardware, and the hardware is coming. That's the world. Now, that doesn't mean someone else won't come along as well, but that open in video, in digital. Then the problem with FPV, it's a race to the bottom. everyone's trying to sell you something for as little as possible. And the second you do anything good, the Chinese will come across and do it at a quarter of the cost. Not make it work properly, but they'll do it at a quarter of the cost. I don't know. I've just done the ruler, which has been a big project. I'm really bad at finishing things. That's my problem. I start loads of stuff.
I forgot you were doing the ruler with all the useful bits and bobs on it. I remember now.
Yeah, it's done. I've had the first batch in. I'm not happy with them. Overall, the quality of the second batch wasn't what it should have been. There were so many mistakes in the first one. It was ridiculous.
Were you recommending people run like 3600 kV on 6S or something? Was that?
Yeah, there was just a couple of mistakes all over the place. Spelling, various things. And the worst thing is, there was about 12 people looked over it and went, yeah, that looks fine. And then everyone started going, whoa, wait a minute. That's not right, and then that's not right. And there was even one we found literally like 5 minutes before I was hitting the reorder button, and someone messaged me and went, we've missed this. And I just went, how has no one seen that? It was so obvious. It was I reversed the pin out to the DJI unit.
Oops.
And it was just genuinely, I put it on the desk upside down because it wouldn't sit up the other way, and as I was writing it to make sure it was right, I was just looking at it backwards. But that's
every single time I wire one of those, I go searching and I find Oscar Lang's DJI pinout. Every single time, because their documentation is so poopy that DJI seems unable to come top of the search results. Like iFlight and everyone else, you search for their flight controllers, you'll get the pinout. DJI, no, not a chance. It's never a DJI doc. It's always Oscar.
It's always Oscar. Yeah, I've got to make more of an effort to the projects this year. That's what I have to do. You know, for me, I have to make more of an effort on that this year to get some of the Hydropilot stuff finished. I might start taking a look at OpenHD, but again, when you've got the amazing work Curry's doing, why would I want to get in the middle of that? In some ways, I almost look at things.
More spectacular crashes, Ian.
Well, I'll set it on fire. That's inevitable.
I mean, I think there's like 10,000 views right there.
What is a little bit unfair about it's like I suppose the biggest channel looking at OpenHD, but if you look at the guys that have been doing it for a while, who are so much more slicker and so much more better than doing it than me, I really do struggle to say, look at me. It's like, no, look at these guys because they're actually doing it right. I was wondering, Ian, how your channel started and what you were saying there about helping people out, because mine started. When I was starting to fly FPV, I was flying my tricopter, which is there on a wall in a bunch of sticks. And every time I went out to fly, I crashed it. And so I would put the video on YouTube, and then I would ask the forum at the time, back when forums were going, what happened. And as I got better, it started getting okay. And then I started finding like problems using bits, and so I'd put a video up saying this is a problem I found. If you get this, here's how to fix it. And I started off doing just titles, and then that got too much, and then it's voiceover, and that became me sitting in front of a camera talking about stuff. How did you start your channel?
Well, believe it or not, the first ever video on my channel was FPV related, because it's quite funny. I've had a few people this year say, oh, you've pivoted into FPV. I said, no, I actually started in FPV. I pivoted out of it very quickly, but I did a lot of it in the background. But it started, I've been around in RC groups a very long time. And I've been involved with various things, and including beta testing with DJI. I was around long enough that in the old days, when DJI was small, you had some active people on groups like RC groups and others, and they used to just send you stuff to try. This was when DJI was the little company, the NASAs, the motor packs. Remember when they used to do a lot of parts? So I used to do quite a bit with them, and then I sort of did a lot more RC groups, and I got to the stage of thinking, I'll start making a bit of content, a video about this. So I made a video about the Mavic, the first Phantom 3, and the content was just helpful. So this is the battery. And what you used to see on all of the forums was people posting the same questions time and time again. Because the problem with the forum format, it's really bad at finding information, isn't it? You'll get, why does my battery do this? That might be in a 10,000 post thread 100 times. You often say to people, can you go try search? It'll come up, but you end up saying the same thing time and time again. So the idea of the video started as, look, this is what the DJI battery does. It has a self-discharge circuit. It will just self-discharge itself after 4 days. If you press this button, it'll stop it discharging. Look after it, but don't leave it fully charged, because this was all stuff we knew as RC guys, but it was a consumer product. And it wasn't like a laptop consumer product that would look after itself. You did still need to look after the batteries a little bit. And that's how it started. And it was with the DJI stuff predominantly. And for many years, it was all DJI content. And it wasn't that I was doing other stuff, but that's where I was getting the views. And I was part of the DJI affiliate scheme. And I did okay out of that. I'm not going to pretend I didn't. It allowed me to keep buying the new models. I didn't make a lot of money, but it was
Didn't they change something a while back so that you could only spend your DJI credits in the DJI store or something?
Yeah, well, I always did anyway, because for me, it wasn't... A lot of people could have the money out in cash, and I had the option of that, but I never chose it, because for me, it was about, I get enough income that I can sell the product I've got, buy the next one, and it covers the difference between the sale and the new cost. So I was never paying out of my pocket. But I was lucky. I beta tested for them, and then I ended up actually helping them run their Facebook groups for 2 years. I was one of the main admin on social media. But that all fell apart, and DJI went through some massive changes. But for me, it was always about trying to provide people info.
Can we just you skipped over the DJI falling apart and everything changing, but what was that?
Size. They grew very, very quickly.
They became like a retail brand instead of a hobbyist brand at some point.
Also, they changed how they did everything. So they went from dealing with people individually to then I was involved with some people, and then I ended up one day being asked, look, come and would you fancy helping us out on Facebook? I ended up being the only non-staff admin, not moderator. I had full admin rights over. I always say, this is quite one of my funniest little sort of claim to fame. I had the ability to delete their social media presence, yet I never worked for them. Now, they must have been insane to do that, because anyone in their right mind who owns a business, you'd never give someone who's basically doing it for free as a hobbyist the ability to remove your entire social media profile. But I could, because I was an admin. I wasn't moderator. I created half the groups. But it all become too much. It all become crazy. I had DJI, and I was never paid. I will openly say I did it. And this is the genuine reason I did it, because I got the CB behind the curtain. It helped the channel because I had the info before everyone else. I'd never break an NDA, but I was able on launch day to be able to talk about stuff in a way other people couldn't, because you had all of them as KOLs. I wasn't a KOL. For people who don't as key, that's basically the people they give products to Casey Neistats, all of those types of folks. I wasn't. I was support, but I'd already seen it. Sometimes they'd send it to me for free to have a look at. Sometimes I got to keep it. Sometimes I didn't. That was the way it was. But it all became too much, and I fell out with some people, as I always tend to. And in the end, I thought it went. I'll be honest. The tipping point was the FPV drone. I don't know if I spoke about this on here, but it was the FPV drone. That was the tipping point, because
more.
Because I left and I went back, and I was told, it was really simple for me. If you want me to support users with this product, I need to see it before launch day. And it was all yeah. And a week before launch, they said, you won't be having one. So I just went, bye. Because I can't support a product I don't know how to use. I can't say to a user.
There was a lot going on with that one as well.
Yeah, it was a bloody mess. But that was the final quit. But I also decided I need to make an effort on the channel, because the channel was on like 8,000 subscribers for years. It never went anywhere. It was getting nowhere. It really wasn't,
Should have had a live stream where you deleted their social media presence. That would have.
They were very good.
Some fireworks.
They were very good to me over the years, and I've got no complaints with the staff. Probably most of the ones I know aren't there now. Genuinely, they were never bad to me. But I'm probably still under NDA, and I'm under about 500 NDAs for a lot of it. But come after me. They were good to me, but they also got a lot out of me. What they got was a free technical support person who was able to help people through some of the more complex issues. And that's how they used to do it. They used to basically get free technical support by feeding people a free product here or there. Do you know what I mean? You know, it wasn't about promotion. It was about helping people. And that's how they did it.
Do you think they're still on the ascendancy after the FPV drone and everything else?
No, they're a very different company today. They've lost their way. You know, I will openly say they've lost.
Because I'm seeing iteration. I'm not seeing innovation from them since the FPV system.
They had a massive growing period, and it was insane. They grew at a level unlike any business I've seen in a long time, and that balloon was always going to pop.
They seem to have ended up on the wrong side of the American government, which is denying them a lot of revenue avenues that, you know, government contracts and the like that others are going to be snapping up, I'm sure.
They made some mistakes with that. They could have done something really simple, and I've said this before, is they could have opened a factory in the US. That's all they had to do. Instead of DJI's biggest problem is, and they should be a proud Chinese company because they are a Chinese company, and they have nothing to apologize for on that, regardless of what some Americans will say. I will always defend, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a proud Chinese company, but what they needed to do was appease the American government, and what they probably should have done is put a factory in the US with custom software for the US. And
I don't think people realize what it means to be a Chinese company. Like, over a certain size, you need to have Communist Party representation on the board of the company, and that's just a government mandate. There's no kind of, I don't want to do that, I'm going to rebel. No, you just don't get a choice.
No, and they're not the company they were, you know, but they're much bigger. And, you know, I've had dealings with the guys. The last time they were swearing at me, I'd upset them, which they're good people. They've never been anything but friendly or good, even when I've caused them some real pain, like I did over the FPV system. The message was, hey, asshole, we've seen it, we take it on board, there'll be a firmware fix in 4 days. And they did, you know. And but I'll be honest, I knew what I was doing with that.
But no one's holding their breath for like the next version of OcuSync at this point in time, are they? It doesn't look like it's going to happen. It looks like they're going to carry on like reselling the same product in slightly different clothes for a while yet.
Yeah, I don't know where it'll go. I genuinely don't.
I saw your take on the new Mavic Cine, right? And that it was kind of like, same as the old one. It's got a sticker on it, longer arms, not great.
Yeah, and it really isn't a good buy because of the money. And I try to put my genuine thoughts on it, and that is what I feel. That's why I don't own one. And I think if you watch, very few would have watched to the right to the end, you know. And I think I said, do I want one? Yes. Would I like one? Yes. Do I need one? Not really. Yeah. And that's the problem with half this gear. And it's like motorbikes. Anyone who has motorbikes, you always want 5.
But you've got law of diminishing returns. Curry was just saying, oh yeah, I'd post these videos of this kind of madly oscillating thing barely making its way across a field, and now you're kind of arguing, oh, is there a little bit of prop wash? Am I getting a clear 4K image? Is my 12 times zoom working properly? It's the diminishing returns at this point, which means the competition is able to get closer and closer to them, and they're able to do less and less unless they put exponentially more money into the problem.
And look, and it makes me laugh. I had someone had a right go at me on that video. There's a post in there saying, you are wrong. The image quality is substantially better. Look, I'm a camera guy. I'm lucky I've got full frames, I've got MFTs, I've got all sorts of cameras. The image isn't substantially better between any of them. There's only one camera I've ever picked up and it blew me away in the difference, and that was the GFX 100, which is the 100 megapixel Fujifilm. And I did a bit of a shooting session with some models on that, and I fell in love. You know, when you just find something in your hand, they always say the tool doesn't make you better. That did. That was the first time it just, you hit the button, it took an image, and it was like, just look at that. As long as you got the person somewhere in the image, it looked great, you know. But the reality is, the Mavic 3, the Inspire 2, it's millimeters of difference between the image quality on all of these.
Are you tempted to jump on the whole cine-lifter bandwagon? I noticed Bloods has started to take apart Blackmagic Pocket 4Ks, and this trend is spreading, you know, to get those really good quality cameras and put them on drone instead of have something with, even in the case of the really expensive DJI stuff, it's fairly compromised optics. It's not a professional lens, but to have something with a professional lens and put it on a freestyle quad?
I'm not a great pilot. That's the genuine truth. That the biggest, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm Bardwell or Curry or anyone. I don't have enough stick time under me in the last 6 months. My last few flying trips have clearly to myself shown that. You get under the sticks, you think, oh, I am all over the place. I'm okay. I can throw an aircraft around. I can move it around a building. I can do this. I'm not a particularly great pilot. I'm not going to pretend I am. If I spent probably 100 hours back on the sim and then actually got out, it's like anything. Practice makes perfect.
But I mean, just to get a good camera and be able to move it around. I'm not saying to be able to do like loads of freaking power loops and snap rolls, but just to actually get that camera in the air and know that you can hold it smoothly and do bump-free forward flight with a really good camera.
It's funny. I was watching. I don't know. Did anyone see the Formula Extreme that was on a couple of weeks ago on ITV? It was that electric buggy racing in the desert, and they had quads following the buggies on that. And I think they must have had a couple of cine-lifters there because they were live streaming some pretty good image quality. So I don't know what they were using, but they must have been some good.
That wasn't the one where the quad hit a helicopter, was it?
I didn't see it. No, I didn't watch all of it. It was on ITV. I just drove through and I walked through the house. I was like, what's this?
There was some desert racing recently where a quad pilot managed to somehow miss the fact there was a helicopter there and just went bang into the side of a heli.
Yeah, it might have been. I didn't see that one. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I haven't really thought about it. I know you got Quad Labs who does a lot on that side of things, on the building side, and there's loads of people sort of looking at it now, isn't it? It's becoming very, very big, isn't it? I suppose it's how long before the GoPros get that good. That's the problem.
I guess it's acknowledging that there's this. I don't know how much is a GoPro Hero 10 is about 400-ish to 500, that kind of range, depending on what accessories you get with it. And then
1 minute's view time for a YouTuber. 1 minute's view time for a YouTuber. We measure everything in how much money YouTubers make.
Gold slippers, just off camera.
I suppose. I mean, personally, I'm worried enough flying on a GoPro because I was like, oh, if I crash this, it will hurt my GoPro, and that'd be bad. Let alone like a Black Magic camera. But in terms of professional filming, money aside, I suppose you can smash a couple of those up for how much it is for a helicopter for a day. So it's sort of inevitable that the higher quality cameras are going to get there. It's just a case of...
And you get a lot less vibration. You need a lot of extra fancy gear. If you put a camera on a helicopter, forget about quad vibrations. Like there's a lot of...
the helicopter stuff. So they're like special. What's the stuff? The liquid.
There's a company who makes most of them, isn't it? It's like one company that has the whole industry tied up as well. You see them on the Formula One. You see them on all of them, don't you? Yeah.
So I guess if you're going for a job, you can undercut the price of a heli pretty effectively if you can only lift something with a decent lens.
Yeah, the way the cameras, we've got the new GH6, which has arrived, which is pushing things again. It's not red territory or any of them, but it's certainly getting better. It's certainly an interesting market. It really is. It isn't something I've explored a lot of. I've really enjoyed FPV again in the last 12 months. Part of it is it's affordable as well. And I think what's really hurt the camera drone market is it's just become out of reach now. $2,000 is a good used car now. Well, it was before COVID. You get a wheel for your car now. But yeah, $2,000 used to be a good used car. Now it's a plastic drone, and it's getting silly, that side of it. It really is.
But you can also capture a lot with something like a Cadex Peanut. Some of the more modest offerings are getting to the point where, and a lot of people do just post on Instagram. A lot of people are, not even treating YouTube as their primary source. They want to put a couple of shots on Instagram where, Instagram or Facebook, you can't really do high quality video. You're always going to have kind of 720p playback anyway.
Yeah, it's weird. I've not really... I keep trying to get into the Instagram world, but I fail rapidly. I just forget to do it. It's weird, isn't it? You can do too many things as well, and I'll say that there's some fantastic people in this, the drone YouTube space who do this really well. I've been privileged to meet talked to many of the guys in this, and I always find it amazing how we all sort of orbit each other in some ways, but we all do our own thing, and it's hard, I found, to do everything. And I think the benchmark is, I'm not saying JB is the best, but JB is almost the benchmark of what you can achieve as a channel. He is, for the most part, one of the biggest in FPV, if not the biggest. I'm not saying you can't do it better, because I think there's a few people who think they can, and I'm interested to see what they can do. But if FPV is estimated to be about 750,000 active pilots, between 750 and 1 million, there is a ceiling to this little world we're in, and I don't know how.
There's only so much market out there to take market share.
Yeah, and you're seeing it with like Radio Master. They played a real clever move. Did you get a sign, Curry? Did you get one?
I didn't get a sign.
You didn't get the sign?
The first thing I got from Radio Master was the Zorro. And I think I only got that because one of the people that used to work to Beat FPV moved to Radio Master and then contacted me and said, "Do you want a Zorro?" I was like, "Okay." But no, I didn't get the sign. I saw all those signs posted all over the place. Yeah, great thanks to. I was like, "Where's my fucking sign?"
Well, I made it a live stream. I said, "Where's my sign, Radio Master?"
Havel has his in shot, but it's backwards. He's just left it in shot, but the wrong way around now.
I did, and it's a genius move, because you look at half of the YouTube channels now, right? There's a Radio Master sign in the background. They're lucky they didn't send it to me, because I'd have probably marked out some colors to spell something else just to try and wind them up. But I don't deal with Radio Master. I have been speaking to them. I reached out to them, and something I've started to do is reach out to some companies I'd like to work with on something. I'm not going to be afraid to do that. I wouldn't mind looking at the Zorro, but I don't know what I could bring to the table on it. That's the problem.
What about gyro flow? As you're such a camera guy and you understand optics and distortion from lenses, and you understand, mathematics, you could probably do a really good job.
Yeah, but we've got a guy who does that really well anyway. The problem is, the bit I sort of come to is, why do the same thing as someone else is doing? And I have fallen into this trap. I'm going to openly admit it. Reviews is that, but why try to do the same thing? And that's why I've tried to bring in a bit of the other stuff on the reviews. On all the reviews now, it goes under the microscope to try and let's look at something different. Let's try to offer something people won't get anywhere else, because otherwise you're just watching the same thing. And I watch a lot of YouTube. I only watch YouTube, actually. I don't really watch TV. I watch.
It does a lot more than just looking at the quality control stickers. I mean,
yeah,
that's the other choice. Has it got a QC pass sticker? Oh yeah, must be well made then. Got the QC pass sticker.
Yeah,
what do you want to be doing?
I don't know. That's the problem.
That's the
real. I love the channel. I love doing it, but I suppose it's grown so much in 2 years. We've gained 15,000 subs in 2 years. Which, compared to, I spent 5 years at 10,000, getting up to 10,000, and then put 15,000 on in just under 2 years. And that was because I consciously made an effort. I actually thought, you know what? I better learn how YouTube actually works. Oh my God, you've actually got to put a thumbnail, which isn't a piece of timber. Right, okay, I need a thumbnail to look like something. And clickbait comes along the way, and I try to avoid it, but the reality is you've got to do it. You've got to ask for subs.
Can we have a thumbnail face-off between Curry and Ian now, to show us your best thumbnail faces?
I said I've only got the 3 faces. I've got... My general product thing is now hold product up, or look confused and thoughtful about product. And I can't remember the other ones. It's normally... I used to just shoot a decent quality photo of it, but recently I've aside from those being boring, I'm not trying to actively I'm trying to make my thumbnails more exciting. A lot of the time I'm like, I can't be asked to shoot a photo of a flight controller. I'm just going to go fly it, and I've had a fly of it, and I'm walking back. I was like, okay, that's good. I got the stuff for the video, and I was like, shit, thumbnail. What should I do?
One of yours where it looked like you'd found a piece of dog poo on your shoe, and it was just like the most face.
I would spend my time trying to make stuff look like a penis.
Yeah, the funny thing is the background up there. I never realised that. For those who watch regularly, I got oscilloscopes over there, and I hung all of the leads up, and they're not on a nail because I didn't want, because they're actually coaxes and they have impedance, so I didn't want them to bend too much. There's a piece of tape, a roll of tape, so they go over a nice arc, but it looks like a giant cock in the back corner. So whenever the channel's live, it just looks. Someone was on, and they just went, "Can you explain to me why there's a giant penis in the back corner of your room?" Oh shit! Yeah, never noticed that. It is, and I spent something I have done the last 6 months. I spent a massive amount of time listening and reading about YouTube, and I've learned so much in the last 6 months. And it does work if you make a bit of effort. Like, thumbnails should be the first thing you do. That's the rule number one, and it isn't. It's the last thing I do.
Thank you, Cole.
Publish the video.
Thank you. Cole's been doing outstanding work on our thumbnails.
Yeah. If you need to outsource someone for your Instagram, he is available.
If you have a beauty portrait shot that you could send Cole, we can put your face on the show.
Nice. There's no beauty shot.
He tried to trim bits from your videos, but he had trouble masking you apparently.
Oh, right. Okay. I'll need to.
Doing great work.
I'd love to be able to hire an editor. It would free up so much time. I just don't make enough money. I don't know how people do it.
Well, the exchange rate's pretty good. He's in Canada, so you might be able to afford him.
We just ship him gravy every now and then. He does the fries himself. It's beautiful arrangement.
It's hard, because something people don't realize is, I do. I'm guessing it's the same. We do everything. So you have to sit there and think about what you're going to do. You then spend a week talking about it because you keep messing it up. Then you actually edit it. Then you got to try the product. There's so many hats to this. You're marketing. You're dealing with people's emails. You're applying to stuff. You're on forums. You're on Facebook groups, live streams. You're doing it. It's insane how much work. You become almost a full media entity. Everything you do is around it. You learn a huge amount, and I'm really bad at it. I'm still not good at it. I'm trying to get better all of the time. I don't know what the end game is. I can't imagine giving up a job to do this full time. That would horrify me to think.
Are you worried that if it becomes a job, it stops being fun?
I hit that point at the end of last year, so I know how that feels. When everything I had 10 videos of people saying, oh, we've sent you the product. Where is it? We're going to talk about it. This, that. That happened last year, and I know how that feels now. So that's not a fun place to be. And I've had to learn a bit from that and change what I do as a result of that. I think the scary thing is, could I pay my mortgage? And I can't imagine for 1 minute relying on YouTube. The scary thought of some guy in America just goes, we're going to change that policy. Over.
Shit.
Because that happens.
It's okay if your mortgage is like 50 quid a month, but any more than that, it's a bit of a risk, I think.
Yeah. I can't imagine. It would scare me, You
need to diversify, right? And get that Patreon base really solid.
Patreon, yeah. And I was actually a bit shocked. I went on, and I'll be honest, I need to apologize to all my Patreons because I'm really bad. I need to message them more. I need to talk to them more. I need to say how great they are because they're amazing folks who support me all the time. But I was actually shocked how many I had. I keep an eye on it, but I sort of went on the other day and went, "Oh my God, we're actually wow!" It's grown.
We
massive.
would be fucked without Patreon.
Massive thanks to our Patreons for voting with their wallets and being fantastic.
Like as soon as we don't get enough money to pay the editor, the pay for the StreamYard and the website, and we haven't paid the website, so eventually what will happen is there won't be enough to edit, and that's it. We're done.
It's hard, isn't it? And
it's not easy.
It's not, and I have pushed Patreon a lot, and I've had a massive benefit from that. And that started to be, I could pay a £50 a month mortgage off it, and probably pay a little bit of the electric bill, and that's suddenly okay. This is something that could happen. You've got to diversify. You've got to, as part of the reason I've done the PCB was to try and bring in money. The other element I've suddenly realized on the PCB is the labor involved has hit me hard. Just dealing with, okay, so if I've produced these, I've got to wrap them, label them, post them. I did 10 last Saturday. Okay.
Ian?
Do this better.
Is the mic gone?
Oh,
for
there
anybody
he is.
else?
Back again.
Oh, sorry.
I think that was just
You
a bit
somehow got
crazy.
noise gated for a second there.
To be honest, it's probably right. But yeah, I did the PCBs last Saturday, and I think I posted 10, and it took me like 3 hours. And I can't do that all the time. You know, I've even just realized that's not viable. I couldn't. That's 3 hours I'm not with my kids, or 3 hours not on the channel, because that something is taken from somewhere else, isn't it? Everything, you're always robbing Pete to pay Paul. That's the problem.
It's a finite sum game. Like,
yeah,
there's only so much time to go around. Absolutely.
Carolyn's complaining. Hang on. I messaged patrons too much, but I must say I had 2 new patrons this month that joined up, and they both sent me questions. One was working on some drone and couldn't get it armed, so I said, "Tell me what you've gone through, and we'll see if we can sort it out." And some other guy was in like South Africa wanting to do something, and it was talk about like OpenHD, and I say, "Well, tell me what you want." And RG Pilot seems to be a good thing commercially stuff. Replied to him. Both of them immediately cancelled their Patreon. So my answers to them must have displeased them in some way. They said, "I've got a problem. Tell me more. I'll help you." Oh, geez, this guy sounds wrong. No, we're out. We can join someone else. But never mind.
It's hard, you know, and like, it's keeping on top of everything. That's the problem. It is, you say, it's genuinely keeping on top. And you know, it's a great industry. I love the tech. I'm a tech person. That's what I am. I'm a tech head. The more than anything, I'm a tech head. That's what I love about it, you know.
Right, we gotta cut it there, because hopefully we made up for you being late. So we got an hour of you. Any chance I can get a "Hi, I'm Mad Tech," and just for your intro, because you never said who you were when you joined.
And I approve this presentation.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Ian. I'm Mad Tech, and I have a small YouTube channel in the UK.
That'll do. And that's all we got time for. So, editor, if you could stick that in the beginning when Ian joins, and then just cut the shit beginning, and then just, you know, neaten it up. That would be amazing.
That was my professional LDO intro. That's what I learned from the greats.
Anyway, you've been listening to Electro Now. Massive shout out to all our Patreons. We love you guys. You guys are the best. The only reason this show happens every week. You've been joined by everyone's favourite Curry Kitten.
Goodbye.
Belric Stephen, he forgot to send the email.
Sorry, but thank you, Ian, for turning up. You're a star. Cheers.
Ian from MadTech. Okay.
It is a pleasure. It is an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. And I've been Bright Until I Fly. Thank you, guys. Good night.
Cheers.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for making it, even though you're a bit poorly. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's. I was sitting on the sofa having tea, and I just looked at my phone. It's been one of those weeks, and I just went, "Oh Jesus!"
And
I meant to be.
yeah, I